So, who has the Leslie Smith underdog pick? Who was the Mexican dude and the lesbian chick? Everybody say you mean Lesbo and the Bean. Who's that out there living they dream? Lesbo and the Bean. Who's that still smoking all the green? Lesbo and the Bean. Come on, y'all.
Welcome back. Episode 100. We
100.
Finally made it to the promised land. What a journey we've had. If you're watching us on YouTube or just still following us on whatever podcast subscriber you subscribe to, hit a like and a follow. But good things are coming. We told you. Here it is. How do you feel?
So at YouTube, we are going to be working at attaching the audio because we have better equipment now, but we don't know if it's going to be possible on that format, but we are going to try to rip it. So if you get raw audio on YouTube, we apologize ahead of time, but we are still working on it. But it might be worth it for you because we are dressed up today for our YouTube audience for the 100th episode.
100. Get in there.
Does this make you feel more legitimate? Do you remember LaTB 1, Lesbo and the Bean, episode 1? Does this feel different now at 100?
Remind me, was that on what platform?
Bumpers.
Was that?
.fm.
Bumpers was dope for a bit.
Embarrassing.
Little free. Hey, you got to get your feet under you somehow, and now we're here. Look at where I'm at. Look at me now. Look at me now.
I know my wife today was like, let me iron your shirt for the 100th episode, and I'm like, you got to give me something for 200. You got to give me something for the fans to look.
We're getting better. Yeah, I know. I busted out my good flips, but hey, that's as far as we're going this time. I know. Get a little kick, little sneak peek.
Yeah. How do you like the new studio?
A little sneak peek.
It feels nice in here. Better than the old poster of yesteryear. I feel like if you are a listener and you haven't checked us out on YouTube, maybe you could go look.
Either way, you're still gonna get our opinions, what we think's going on.
We look almost just like Howard and Robin. Almost. Just
pretty
like
close. Same races and everything going on. Same thing.
UFC, MMA. That's why we're here.
There's been a ton of news. We have fights right down the pipeline. Finally next weekend, you get back to heavy duty fighting. We have a hell of a card coming up.
Does it feel weird to have your own mic back?
It does feel a little bit interesting to have it just set.
It's more responsibility.
It is. I feel like I'm moving towards it, but against it, I have to get into the zone and
give it a little chin music.
Yeah, there is. Luckily, once we get going in our MMA talk, doing some of our MMA talk, I feel like I'll tend to loosen up and not worry about so much what we look here at LaTB. Knees all up in the photo shoot, getting it knee up in here.
They could be worse knees. I know, I need this tie out of my way like I'm playing pool. I feel like
my buttons keep showing
I need
as
to
well.
Tuck it in like a doctor.
I didn't know I had such a fat neck.
That's one of my favorite things that Joey Diaz says. Living life like a doctor. That's how I feel with this flipped over my neck. Okay, go on. Sorry, MMA.
Again, the fight card coming up next weekend. But before that, so Wednesday we're going to come with a heavy and hot breakdown. Bunch of fun fights on the way. But along the way, we did have ONE FC, a lot of European scenes. There was a lot of gruesome, twosome, all sorts of mewsome, fingers popping out of joints, elbows popping out of sockets, legs being broken. It was a heavy-duty underground fight night cards. Invicta ended up airing as well. Actually, I know Lesbo watched some Invicta fights. Woo!
Yeah.
Evolving here on the show used to be just a UFC snob.
And I watched Bellator and Invicta in the last 2 weeks.
Wow. And Bellator, wow, what an opportunity lost in this weekend of perfect timing. Next weekend, you're competing on a Saturday night with the UFC for free. You're just bad timing, guys. Bad timing. You could have planned that to this weekend and had all of the viewers, because I was ready to watch that fight.
A lot more eyes. That's the thing they're not taking into account. Everyone's like, Bellator had a really good week with their last fight card. Yeah, because UFC didn't have a fight card.
Yep.
Exactly. It's a big account to the number that they're not bringing in. Have you seen on Fortnite, if you guys don't play, you can... I don't play as much on either of the games, but the Bean plays PUBG, which is kind of a Fortnite... PUBG Mobile, so you can follow him on there. Where can you find him if they want to arm
Lil
with
Bean,
you?
Lil Bean.
Yeah.
Lil Bean.
So if you're a fan and you feel like playing PUBG Mobile with the Bean, he's on there.
Get on it. I'll wreck some boobs.
Fortnite, which is kind of a similar version of that, they have a new emote that's out for their players, and I want to show it to you right now because a lot of, well, I'll let you see and you can tell me who it reminds you of. I don't know why this is such a poor download. That's their new
Conor McGregor's
yeah, look at it on the
Fortnite dance move. Oh my gosh. That's unreal. Is Demetrius Johnson and Max Holloway just like, damn it?
Are
Because
you
they
kidding
play
me?
this. Like, they play this regularly.
Well, what would Max Holloway or Mighty Mouse? You could have a Mighty Mouse move because he does he goes down to his knee and does
he does the
like power move. He punches the canvas.
like Power Rangers also straight up shot.
Why isn't Mighty Mouse a Power Ranger legitly?
He was on Ninja Warrior for a while.
But if they're doing a remake of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, Mighty Mouse is perfect build. He already has.
I think he's a little too small. His head ain't gonna fit in that helmet.
That is true. That is truth to be told. They just have to paint him up.
You would just paint the helmet on his head.
They have to just paint him up.
Poor Mighty Mouse.
Oh.
But with fun stuff that did end up going on in the MMA world, how did you feel about Elias Thuradoa coming back without his vest? Second time in Invicta.
Better, and I also think it shows how evolved this sport is, that it really made little kerfluffle. Like, we've moved on. The first time was a big deal, and now it's normal.
Yep, and I can't wait for the UFC for this to happen, because guess what, Invicta, part of the UFC had to okay this the entire time, and UFC fighter, interesting, good for Thuradoa. I do like Elias. He used to look a little pudge to me, a little pudge city. It used to be all in his legs, and he's really started to work out and look trimmer.
I always thought he had a great body.
No way. Look at him in some of his earlier fights, where of course he was getting in better shape.
Even
but
in
now
the
he
Tough
looks
House,
hard.
I thought he looked
I don't
great.
know why I always thought he looked a little soft.
Me
but
either.
now, definitely filling in other fighters that have been in the news lately. Colby Covington, off the hot of everyone's tongue. He's making claims and saying that he had a foursome with 4 people. And specifically on the Twitterverse, we had that porn star come out specifically and say, it was not with me, Cholo. You didn't with me, but...
Making it up.
Surprise, surprise. We have a guy making up that he had sexual endeavors that he never did to look big in front of other guys. Weird. Never heard that happen before.
That's never happened before.
Ever. How do you feel about that entire situation?
All I can think when I think of the Colby Covington issue right now is the Joe Rogan with it. And how did you see Joe Rogan replied?
He did reply. No,
yeah,
please fill me in.
Well, he didn't really say anything.
So what even happened? Break it
He
down
said,
for the fans.
I was just saying you could get hurt if you talk shit. Or I think we did. Didn't we talk about Colby saying that on air?
We've talked about that. I think that's come out since our last show.
I feel like we might have said it on air. Maybe not. Real quick, if you haven't heard, Joe Rogan was talking about how Colby and John Jones used to be college roommates. Now they're not anymore. Colby Covington was talking shit about John Jones, and Joe Rogan said, hey, buddy, be careful talking shit about a guy who could kill you.
Yep.
Like, that's it. And he needs to be careful because John Jones will just slap him in the face or something of that nature. And so Colby Covington says, well, Joe Rogan, you need to be careful about who you talk shit about, because I could just slap you in the face.
Yep.
At first I was like, F you, Colby Covington, but the more I've thought about it, it really makes me laugh, and who ever talks shit about Joe Rogan?
It's a win-win for Colby. Love him or hate him because he's being the heel. This just creates more talk about him. Again, Lesbo and the Bean here, talking about Colby regularly because it is a fun, hot topic, and the heelness is going into transcendent levels. And it's being noticed, for better or worse. He's getting paid, though. How do you feel about, in general, the level of heelness he's getting to? Because it's cringeworthy 1,000 right now.
The one thing I'm glad about is nobody else is doing it like him. So as long as it's an original character that I haven't seen before, it's like... Until the Undertaker's there, you don't realize if somebody told you, like, okay, we have this idea for a character. We're going to have him come in and he's going to pretend he's an Undertaker. And there's going to be another character who is his manager that you're not even going to get until you're older. But the guy's name Paul Bearer. How long?
Rise from your grave.
Yeah. It's like, and then later you're like, this is a great character. How can we capitalize on this and bring in another character that Colby is a totally separate character that if you would have told me ahead of time, like, this guy that really takes himself seriously, like nerd bashing, like I'm gonna hit a cup of water. That's totally, you can tell it's staged. You know? Yeah.
See it staged.
Yes, the whole thing. So
it's so cheesy.
The whole thing is so cheesy. If somebody would have told you, but because nobody else is doing it, I'm like, okay, I'm on board.
Agreed.
I'm on board. And do I hope you beat Rafael? Yes, because if you don't, then the show's over.
Agreed, 100%. And I do want him to win that fight, but that's a hell of a fight. That is not easy by any means whatsoever.
I need to rewatch all Colby's fights without thinking about it being him. I need to rewatch all his fights with a non-bias to think, because
he's legitimately skilled.
Everybody that's like, well, Dos Anjos put on a showing against Robbie Lawler, that's insane. I don't put Robbie Lawler on that pedestal anymore. I never got to see the Robbie Lawler of yesteryear that everyone I know was an animal. I can watch old fights, but actually sitting watching it live. So for Dos Anjos to put on a show like that is like if he would have come out and did it to Cowboy. I would have the exact same emotions about it. Like, did you do it to a horse that should have been out into the pasture?
Right.
And so Colby, he's young AF, at a great camp. I don't know.
Agreed.
I don't know. He's not really strong, doesn't have knockout power.
Also good calls.
I know. We'll be breaking down that fight when we get there. But I like his character. If that was the question.
The character you like in the heelness, for sure.
And Joe. Making somebody calling out Joe. I like holding Joe accountable.
Like that as well.
And what is Joe going to do when Colby comes up to him in the UFC and he can't look over at young Jamie for backup?
Hey, Jamie, show him the statistics.
Yeah, Jamie, can you bring up Colby Covington's picture of him with the Brazilians?
Oh, my degree. You're questioning my degree. That's not in nuclear physics. I don't know how. So
somebody put Colby Covington as single-handedly ruining MMA for me. How can anyone... how about you just don't look at Colby Covington?
Or you just want him to lose against Dos Anjos. How about that? You just want
You're
him
like,
to lose.
I can't wait. Every punch is going to mean that much more.
Exactly. Who is that fan? You need to get reprimanded, whoever that was. Wow. So there's been a ton of other fights that have gone on that are peripheral of the UFC. We had Ian McCall actually fighting over the weekend versus Koji Horiguchi being a top contender. That did make it to the fight card in Japan. Did end up going a full 9 seconds. Ian McCall ate a straight left by Horiguchi. Sat right down. I would have to say, though, that was an early stoppage. It was definitely an early stoppage. The ref jumped in there. Ian McCall was spinning around to get a single leg. It was a knockdown for sure, but it was a jab, essentially, like a step-in, quick jab. It was good timing by Horiguchi, but Ian McCall, again, unfortunately a shell of himself. And Horiguchi gets paid big bucks to have another UFC fighter under his belt on the notch.
I feel like we kind of predicted it because
I think the betting lines were also heavily favored for Horiguchi as well.
Horiguchi was actually one of the guys. Both guys, I was sad to see when they left the UFC.
Yeah, agreed.
There was going to be something I said about that, but I don't really remember.
There was great. Gabriel Gonzaga also fought versus Russian. What's his face? A Russian fighter, but either way, he ended up losing decisively via TKO, standing TKO in the heavyweight division. Again, Gonzaga on his way out of the UFC. We are seeing, though, is it that these fighters are completely shot now that they're out of the UFC, or is it that the other caliber of fighters are stepping up? Because they're almost automatically getting a shot next in the UFC if they have a couple UFC guys they've beaten in the lower rankings.
In my opinion, everybody's getting better. Everybody everywhere is getting better. There is guys that are fighting in some local circuit right now that are 4-0 that will be 12-0 very soon when we're watching them. So there's guys that are on their undefeated streaks that we'll see them still on an undefeated. It'll just be bigger.
And the competitor who actually beat Gabriel Gonzaga was Alexander Emelianenko, younger brother or older brother of Fedor,
Oh, okay.
who just got out of jail. I think he did 3 or 4 years for rape. So, interesting whether he's going to get picked up by the UFC. Because there's been other fighters that have had domestic dispute issues that have immediately been kicked out of the roster. So somebody who's a convicted sex offender.
If the UFC won't touch him, maybe the NFL will pick him up.
Oh! Damn. Did you actually see that rugby player the NFL picked up that's like 6'8" and moves like the wind?
I think Brennan Schaub actually made...
Gorgeous.
Oh my gosh. That guy's enormous.
Huge, 6'8".
He looks like he should marry the Khaleesi.
But his legs get going. Like, he moves. That boy moves. Moves.
So did you see that Montano pretty much said sorry? First, this is what I have an issue
against Valentina Shevchenko is what you're telling me?
Apologize to Ariel for saying ugly things.
No, I did not. Please fill me in.
I could probably read her tweet if I felt like she
we
deserved me looking it up. But
we did enough this episode.
Yeah,
we did enough.
I'm all news lady out. But apparently she was like, I'm sorry. She started her apology by like, this surgery has really had me on, I think she got her tonsils and adenoids out.
I got that shit when I was 22 taken out. I was eating chips and fucking... mixing some syrup.
Maybe I was like 15 when I got mine out. But
they say they hurt when you're an adult. I was good.
I think for a kid it's like 8 days to 10 days to get better, and for an adult 14 to 22.
So I read the night before, because I'm a genius, all these threads about tonsils when you're in your 20s and stuff, and people were like, people thought I was fine and crying because I was happy. I was crying because it hurt so bad. I had a stitch come out like 3 nights later. I was bleeding in my sleep and woke up with like blood all over the place. And the doctor was like, you should have gone to the emergency room. I was like, oh, it eventually stopped. It got a little thick back there. And he yelled at me, go to the doctor, guys. Go to the doctor.
Yeah, you should. That seems gross. Blood tastes like pennies.
Yeah, it was definitely woke up with a mouthful of quarters and was like, whoa. And you could see it just shooting. Like if I opened my mouth, you could see just...
like snake venom.
Yeah, it was crazy. But
or you're a
you live and you learn, and then you get a beautiful golden voice like you have in your presence right now. The Beans voice, where it's coming from.
That could be it. I'm glad. There's things like your appendix and your tonsils. There's things that your body, your gallbladder.
Did I hear that your appendix is actually useful?
I don't know. I'm sure it's
in there. And they found an extra organ underneath your...
skin.
Lungs?
No, under your skin.
Skin or lungs?
It's under your skin. It's actually the body's biggest organ, and it's the waterway for your entire body is what they think.
Interesting. You learn something new every day. You learn something new every day. Well,
speaking of organs and learning something new every day, I was hearing a story about a soldier who an IUD or something blew off his legs and his dick and balls, and they actually did a dick and ball transplant, fully working dick and balls. And which is amazing and great if you can do that, because there's a lot of soldiers. There's like crazy statistics.
People in general.
But I just think
a farming accident.
Yeah.
You're trying to have sex with a machine.
And then they're making it so you can't have kids with said balls because it'd be somebody else's.
Because it'd be zombie sperm, right?
Yeah, something dead person sperm. But would you feel weird? Would you rather have somebody else's dick in your hand, or there no dick at all?
Does he still have hands?
And you know how, like, if you go to Locks of Love, how your hair has to be a certain length before you can donate it?
Ooh, I like it. Does it have to match the same skin tone, or can be a different skin tone? Like, can you have a different cup? Because you know where I'm going with it. Yeah. Oh, you know where I'm going, girl. Yo, give me a good 12 inches. I'm going to be a brand new porn star.
Yeah, you're going to be like... Yeah, it's a little darker. It's a little...
I'm going to start fake tanning.
BBD?
Yo.
You're going with a BBD?
I'm going to go with a big old BBD. But I'm going to have to start to get that big old fake tan. Oh, or that Maury chick where she gets the shots and looks black. Boom. I'm just going to get those shots.
So here's do you think it'll be like trans people, transgender, once they can do that? I wonder if it's possible to do that. Well, I don't know.
Transracial people, you mean?
It took like 14 hours for the surgery and tons of doctors. They had to attach all these veins, all these things. And
I'm all for it, and I absolutely love that this technology is out there. But at the same time, I have my reservations because the movie Idiocracy is turning from a satirical movie into real life prophecy. And this is why. Because a guy on a jet ski is going to rack his nuts on a fence, rip them off. They're going to attach it where the brainiac is going to get cancer and not have kids.
Or what about if you just have a little dick? Would you just
do it on purpose?
Yeah.
Go ruin your dick on purpose?
Because you're like, the odds are you'll get a better dick.
Stick it through a lion's cage? Ah!
That would be the way you'd go. Lion's cage.
Oh! No, thank you.
I would,
no way.
Or what about just live with it. Run around swans naked? Swans take your dick off.
I don't think they take it off. I think they would just paint it up. They would just they would just scrape it up.
What would be the what about those those dragons?
None of it. I don't think any monsters. Of it. I don't recommend it. I think you should be okay with it, and there's many ways.
So dick transplant, not to get off
to figure it
not
out.
To get off topic. I think we were talking about Montano apologizing to Ariel Helwani.
Valentino,
I don't even know how it got there.
You know how I get when I talk about Valentino.
I don't even know how it got there. Oh my goodness.
Apology by Montano. It was definitely
Speaking
good
of
for her.
Colby Covington, a dick transplant.
He needs one put in his mouth. Just shut up. No. Other fights that went on with all of the brutal people getting finished. Did we talk about the elbow dislocations and fingers coming out already on?
That was that's what you opened up with.
Things. I have the video. I don't even feel like I need to show you because it was pretty brutskis, but grabbing the fence, the young man that grabbed the fence and his elbow popped out. Interesting how that's an infraction, but it also didn't benefit him as well. The fight's automatically called off. Is it a I don't know whether it was called a disqualification or a
win
for the other guy, TKO, because he actually ran over and kicked him right in the face.
Oh, shit.
As his elbow was out of its socket. It was pretty brutal. It was definitely a fun time. Other UFC stuff coming down the pipeline that we want to get into or have heard of. UFC rumors. Is there any you have off the top of your head?
Luke Rockhold, he really wants that Bisping fight. I think it's silly. Rockhold, in my opinion, that's really one of his only fights, in my opinion, that he has left. Because calling out Alexander Gustafsson is insanity. I do not think Luke Rockhold can win that fight. I think he has a better chance against Michael Bisping.
Totally agree.
What's going on?
New studio.
There. Okay. So, I don't know. What else did we have to talk about?
Dana White Contender Series. We haven't been talking about that other than the Dickiversary of Daniel Cormier talking about BBDs. So, there's been undefeated season. Few fighters coming off. The violent Bob Ross has been making a name for himself all over Twitter. Did you happen to catch his decision fight 2-rounder in the Tough House? That's what the lows that I have stuck to. I'm watching the Tough House. Probably one of the last seasons.
I haven't seen any of it, but I guess I probably should. It seems interesting with
DC and DC.
Yeah.
What I don't like about the fifth curtain or fourth curtain being pulled back a little bit is that I know DC and Stipe are already done. I know these fighters are already back home doing interviews. I know that the show is already X amount of seasons. That live season, even though I was in the military, it was hard for me to watch that full time. It was one of the best seasons of all being live. Like, if you could just do it maybe 2 weeks where you're doing 2 nights out of the week, you're having fights and really breaking it down fast. And only have a 4-week season, that would be dope as hell. Put that shit on Netflix.
Make it hotter, faster, tighter.
Right, and real life-ish. Of course, everyone gets a contract afterwards.
A little different gym, so you're following them around, maybe at their home gym, and then they meet up somewhere, like more real fight. Or you think house still? Do you think it needs a soap of the house?
I don't know. How do they're not even profiling the house as much as they used to.
Would you be so much more into it if it showed them, like, in their real life, going to work their 40-hour work week, going to the gym and fitting it in?
That's if they all live in Vegas.
But why do they have to live in Vegas? Oh.
They could send camera crews out to all these guys. They don't have enough of those camera crews, do they?
Yeah, I mean, hold on. Don't you think with all those shows like Real Housewives and all those boo honky shows, everyone can have a camera. They don't need a camera crew necessarily if they have to sit down with it and just do little recordings, family meals, like here's me going to work. I think the compelling story
They have done some of that before.
Yeah, a little bit of background.
Yeah.
I think some of that matters a little bit, but I think for overall, we don't get to see the home side of the fighters.
Right. I could see that. Some of them don't have interesting lives. But
then those people you just cut up different and show more fight footage or something.
Right. Give them a different avenue to be able to show what they got. Yeah.
Okay, Oi Grutz, fan question. Just throwing it in.
All right, let's hear it.
Fan question.
I love it. We haven't done
What
this in
is
a
your
while.
favorite UFC fighter right now and why? You can break it up however you feel like it, personality-wise, MMA record, interviews, trash-talking skills, his/her face, whatever you want to do. Who's your favorite right now?
Oh,
It's such a wide question.
It's such a hard question. It's so
It's
open,
easy
yeah.
for us to say, like for me personally, it's so easy for me to say Valentina Shevchenko.
I agree, but I don't even want to go there. And Kamaru Usman, obviously.
In my opinion, Valentina's my favorite because she represents this Zen lifestyle of a martial artist and my romantic idea of what I always pictured a martial artist would be. Like, you would travel and you would experience life and you would train in nature, and that's how I pictured.
I don't know why. I've always really loved Kevin Gastelum's style other than the 170 talk.
I love Kelvin right now.
Right?
He's so cute. I was watching him with Bisping and how funny they were together.
He's legit.
I think he has a good face, a good personality.
Good fighting style. He just lost to Weidman on the ground, which is legitimate. People forget how good he is because Rockhold.
He has a good
is
fight
so
coming up.
Weidman?
Yeah,
Or
Gastelum.
Versus
Souza. Ronaldo Souza.
That's a fucking scary
I feel like
fight.
Kelvin could be a sly little underdog in that.
I agree with you, but that is a tough thing. We just saw what a good ground game does to Kelvin on the ground. Souza has that ability. It's getting it there. The entries are different.
I feel like the only
Very
question
different.
you really have to ask at this point if somebody's going in the ring with Kelvin is, are they chinny? Because Kelvin will find the shot. And because he has such good takedown defense, I think Kelvin might be the underdog in that fight.
I would agree with that. I think
That
he might be.
You heard it here
Quick
first.
little place. There is actually
I like
bets
Kelvin.
already out.
You know who else is awesome?
Uh-huh.
Max Holloway. I really love everything about Max right now. I think he's doing it all right. I even think
agree.
he's from
He's
the
up
right
there.
place.
I would agree with that. Anything he's doing right now. I mean, his son even has a cult following. He's doing it so well right now. His son, little Mini Blessed, is legit. Has his own Instagram with X amount of thousands of followers.
And I hate to say it, but I would say, and not even at all one of my favorites, but I think another question is who is getting the most UFC shine right now, the most publicity, and I would say it's Colby. I would say for the past few since the bus incident,
Right.
Colby has been in more places, taking over
The
more
UFC's
airwaves.
been ready to move on.
Yeah, and I don't even think the UFC's promoting Colby. I just think Colby's getting. If you read Bloody Elbow or MMA News or any of these things, it's always something Colby's doing or saying. He's doing the best job of self-promotion, I should say, right now. Even whether you like or not.
I
how he's doing
agree.
it.
I think it's 100% true. The fight coming up, there is already bets for the Rio de Janeiro, Pennington versus Amanda Nunes, which is a pay-per-view. 224 is going to be the 12th.
Are you excited to break that down Wednesday?
I am so excited. There's some hot motherfucking takes. Betting lines are already out. I have already put a couple bets out. Do we want to wait to get into the breakdown? The lines have already been moving nonstop. They're going to keep going up and
I wouldn't
down,
mind a
but-
couple quick picks. I would just quick. We can get into them more, and they might even change before the show. But just like pick one or two fights.
Davey Ramos versus Nick Hine. I just see an underdog city play right there
What with Hine?
with Ramos. Ramos is the underdog.
Ramos is the underdog. Huh.
Yeah. That's a real hot take. I'm not going to be going heavy, and I might back off that because I do need to finish my last bit of footage. But there's going to be a couple debuters, not too much there. A lot of seasoned fighters in there. Strickland versus Zaleski. God, I can't wait for that. That's such a fun fight. Tarzan versus Zaleski in Brazil.
That's another good fight.
The Brazilian bias with the Brazilian juice, though. We always are on top of it.
It's dark in the studio, isn't it?
It got legitimately dark. It's a little bit late. I think we are going to wait to get to those further breakdowns. Maybe we should end up cutting for the quality value for the YouTube audience. We're going to still have premium audio quality, though, as we always do here at LaTB.
Well, it's getting better, hopefully. Hopefully it's getting better and better. Yeah, I don't know what we want to end it on. If we don't want to get too deep into those, we'll save those for Wednesday. And once the fights start, it is fight week after fight week. And we got good card after good card coming up. We got a good summer coming up.
You got some Westworld on tonight, and then we hitting it heavy.
I know. I don't know what we should end it on. I could look it up and leave it up to someone. Oh, yeah, we decided not to do... We were going to go live today. We didn't have the balls. We were going to go full YouTube live, but...
It's been tough. If you can't see what we got going on in the studio, it's a midnight out here in Florida. But we're trying to get whatever good content out there. And finally, we're going to have something that's more in our vein where we can easily just go over a 13-card bout. Injury bug always around the corner, but the juice is always flowing, like I'm saying... or flowing in Brazil. So.
My quick one will go out on this because it is our boy Boom Kelleher.
Boom.
How do you feel about his upcoming fight with John Lineker?
Oh, that is such a hard fight. I love the call out. I love Boom shooting up. He's definitely looking up towards the division, and it is a super hard fight. I feel like he might be biting off a little more than he can chew. Renan Barão is a shell of himself, and Lineker doesn't get tired. So it's a different fight. I do think that, especially being in Brazil, I'm gonna have to go with the Linskys. But I'm a Boom fanatic. I can't put money on him right here.
I like Boom in this fight. I actually think he looks big for the division, and I always thought John Lineker looks small for any division. I think Boom is a guy that's going to keep coming forward, which John Lineker usually likes to do, and I do not think John Lineker is going to be fighting off his back foot. I think he's going to be backing up the whole time, and that's going to be a different game. The only other person we've seen just handedly do this to John Lineker is Mighty Mouse, and I think Cejudo did it of recent, right?
Right.
I think that Boom's going to use the same game plan. So I guess that's a good way to end. Make sure you're liking and subscribing. Thanks for listening. We appreciate you guys, love you guys, and we are just going to keep trying to get things better and better. So make sure you're following us everywhere at Lesbo and the Bean.
Lesbo the Bean!
You want to make money on MMA? LaTB. You want to know who to put it in your parlay? LaTB. You want to know our DraftKings stay away? LaTB. So, who has the Leslie Smith underdog pick? Who was the Mexican dude and the lesbian chick? Everybody say you mean Lesbo.